This is 1360 AM WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJC1360.com.
WNJC 1360 AM, 10 o'clock. Coming up next, it's the Dog Super Nanny with Karen Fazio, right here on WNJC 1360 AM.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Dog Super Nanny. I am Karen Fazio, and I am the Dog Super Nanny. Hey, Pat, we had fun last night.
We had a blast. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Pat's my engineer, and he also has his own show on 1460 WYFI. It's always something.
Yes, it is.
And we had a blast. We hung out in the studio until about midnight. I'm working it on about an hour and a half to 2 hours sleep this morning, but that's okay.
I am too. It's brutal, but I had a blast.
It was great. It was great. So, folks, the podcast should be up soon. You could go to it'salwayssomething.com, right?
It'salwayssomething.radio.com.
Oh, it'salwayssomething.radio.com.
Yes.
Or you could go to pjclose.com. PJ's also a stand-up comedian. I vowed to make him a success.
Thank you.
Last week, we had him on my show. But I want to tell you a little bit about the Dog Super Nanny. If you're a first-time listener, this is all about dogs. It's about dog behavior and nutrition and training. And we talk to all kinds of experts in the field, such as nutritionists and veterinarians and other trainers, and even other animal trainers, like cat behaviorists and exotic specialists and so on and so forth. If you have something to say, feel free to call. This is a very open, friendly show. The phone number is 856-227-1360. We're here every Thursday morning from 10 to 10:30, right here on WNJC. Just in a couple of seconds, we're going to be talking to Janet Velenovsky. Did I pronounce that right, Janet?
You did. Very good.
Look at that. I'm pretty good. She's a certified animal behavior consultant, and she's also a certified cat behavior consultant. Okay, and she's also a certified training partner from the Karen Pryor Academy. I don't know if you folks know who Karen Pryor is, but she is what you would actually say is the inventor of clicker training as we know it now in the United States. Janet led the Training and Behavior Education Department for Premier Pet Products. The people that designed and created the Easy Walk harness and other products such as that. And so she's got a wealth of information, and today she's going to be talking to us about the HOPE Animal-Assisted Crisis Response. And she's going to tell us all about that in just a couple of minutes. But first I want to explain to people what the Dog Super Nanny is. Beside it being a radio show, I am a professional dog trainer and behavior consultant myself. I specialize in fear, aggression, and other behaviors, medical causes of behavior, and so on and so forth. And what we do is professional dog training and pet sitting. And it seems that our pet sitting business is really starting to take off. That is also the Dog Super Nanny. And it's unlike any other pet sitting service you've ever experienced in your life. I mean, you do it one time, you're hooked. You go away, we take care of your pets, we move in, we make ourselves comfortable, we actually become you. So when you're in Hawaii or on a business trip, we step in and we become you for a week or two. We spend time with your cats, your dogs, your birds, your exotic animals, if you have little mammals or lizards, so on and so forth, we take care of them. We play with them, we train them, we clean your house, we do your laundry, we'll go to your shopping for you, pick up your dry cleaning. This is nothing like you've ever experienced. There's nothing like this service anywhere in the United States. And I am proud to be the inventor of the Dog Super Nanny. If you're interested in booking a training or finding more about the Dog Super Nanny pet sitting service, feel free to give me a call. My phone number is 732-533-9376, or feel free to visit my website. It has many training videos and interesting information on that. The website is thedogSuperNanny.com. So feel free to visit the dogsupernanny.com, learn all about me and all the fun we have with our clients' dogs, and just have a grand old time. Right now we're going to be speaking with Janet Velenovsky, and Janet is a certified professional dog trainer, certified dog behavior consultant, and associate certified cat behavior consultant. And she's on the phone today because we're going to be talking about the Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response. I almost twisted that around a little bit, Janet. Sorry about that.
That's all right. You're doing great.
Good. You know, I have to try to keep an eye on how many times I say and okay. On Pat's show last night, I almost was tempted to run a contest. See how many times people could say I said and okay. Right, Pat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a blast. But, you know, Janet, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
Janet is from Montpelier, Virginia?
Montpelier. Mm-hmm.
Montpelier, Virginia.
Yeah, that's how we say
and
it here.
I'd like for you to introduce yourself and explain a little bit what Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response is.
Thanks. I would love to. Everybody listening to this show is probably so well aware of the wonderful effects that we get from the human-animal bond. That's the joy that animals bring us. The way, I'm sure you've heard of studies where being with a dog or a cat can lower your blood pressure. It gets all kinds of good chemicals going in your body, and they're just really good for us. That's why we love spending time with them, petting and fussing over them. And while that can be really great on any given day, when you are in a situation where you're experiencing a crisis or a disaster of some sort, Hurricane Sandy comes to mind.
Oh, we got devastated by that.
Absolutely. There are times when you are so overwhelmed with what's going on, frustrated, upset, etc., and you've got things that you're doing. You can't take time, maybe, or you don't think you can take time to relax. What we do is we bring animals to people that are experiencing that kind of stress, whether it be first responders who are trying to help with the situation, or people who have lost their homes or belongings, people that have experienced the loss of a person, or maybe are waiting to find out if someone's okay. That's incredible stress.
Oh, yeah.
So we bring dogs with us into situations where people are waiting or experiencing this kind of problem, and we bring hopefully just a little bit of joy, a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of levity sometimes to the situation, and hopefully make it a little bit easier for everybody to get through those kind of situations.
Are you an international organization? Not international, but are you a national organization, or you only serve the Virginia area?
We are a national organization. We have about 120 dog handler teams all across the United States. We are primarily along the coasts currently. We have 5 different regions. The one that we're in is the Eastern U.S. region, and that's the one that I am the regional director for.
Wow.
And it runs all the way from Maine west to Indiana at the moment, and then south into Virginia. Mm-hmm. We have another region called Southeast region, which goes from North Carolina down to Florida and over into some of those southern states there. So you can imagine these 2 regions are busy with hurricane season.
You know, I tell you, it was pretty much our first really devastating hurricane up here.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had some really bad nor'easters and so on and so forth, but we really didn't think it was going to be that bad, you know. But when the governor was telling everybody, don't be a numbskull, you know, get off the beach. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Governor Christie, but he's great.
Yeah.
We kind of took that to heed. We heeded that warning, and we kind of moved inland. A lot of people moved inland, and the coastal areas were evacuated, and it was just completely devastating. I mean, houses were leveled. Did you come up here? Did you make a visit to New Jersey and maybe Staten Island and in these areas up here?
Our group is still available and still making trips to the New Jersey area. My dog, Oscar, a border collie, and I were among the first 2 teams to arrive for Hope. We are partnering right now somewhat with the Salvation Army and partly with the FEMA disaster recovery centers.
Okay.
So our dogs make visits. With the Salvation Army, we actually went out with their canteen truck where they offer, food, coffee, etc. out there. Those folks, at the time we were visiting, did not have power or toilets or sewers or anything.
Right.
And so they were out getting first looks at their homes after quite a while of waiting to be able to get onto the Barrier Island area, the Toms River area. And it was pretty difficult for a lot of these people to come in and see their beautiful or very loved summer homes, or some of them who actually live there year-round, and to deal with the devastation that you're describing. So we brought our dogs along, and we walked up and down the streets with the Salvation Army, and as they offered coffee and snacks, we offered love and kisses. And we really feel like it was helpful. Lots of people said it just made a difference to know somebody cared. But several people said, wow, that just brightened my day. And a lot of people were crying and dealing with the loss of not only a lot of belongings inside the home that financially are going to be difficult for them, but a lot of people were missing mementos and things that souvenirs, things that reminded them of the good times that they'd had in those houses. So we sometimes talk about those things with people and let them just deal with those emotions for a moment, then get a pat or a little bit of time, little fur fix with the dogs, and hopefully that has relaxed them a little bit and helped that process.
Wow, we should have had you on the phone and interviewed you before Hurricane Sandy hit.
Well,
in a perfect world, we could have predicted the weather.
Absolutely. We actually thought we were going to get this hurricane in Virginia, and I was all ready to be affected by it. When it passed through, then we knew we were ready to mobilize to help the folks that did experience it.
So when you do a rescue like this, I call it a rescue. I know that it's not really a rescue. It's more of a comfort dog situation, almost like a therapy dog situation. But when you're rescuing people from highly disturbing emotional states. There's nothing like, going back to your house where you grew up in, or, the last place you had supper with your parents before they passed away,
Oh, yeah.
and you're walking past the house and you see their photographs laying in the mud. That must really be very difficult. And unfortunately, there were a lot of families along the East Coast up here that experienced just that.
Exactly. We spoke to several people that had stories like that. The first people that we met when we got onto the island were a father and son, and the son was trying very hard to get things done, very productive. The father looked a little lost, so we stopped and talked to him a little bit, and he expressed the deep distress at losing the place where he watched his kids grow up.
Sure, and then you're surrounded by a bunch of strangers.
Yes.
Because most of your neighbors either they evacuated or they're caught up in their own problems, and now you have rescue personnel and police and in our case we had electric companies coming all the way out from Wisconsin and Ohio and we had police officers, state troopers from I think they were from Michigan.
Absolutely.
They came out to help us out. So
yeah, there were caravans of people on the way up and down and back.
Amazing. So, in addition to losing things that you're familiar with and losing your lifestyle and basically who you are, that kind of defines us, who we are, our home and our family, we were surrounded by a bunch of strangers, and I'm sure, even though a dog is a stranger, it's not. It has a whole different effect on people when they see those eyes and that wagging tail, and perhaps it brings them back to a better time in their life. I just think that's really awesome.
As we say, the dog has no agenda. There's nothing that the dog wants from you. It's not going to tell you to move or get off the street or any of those kind of things, and it's not going to give you rules or things. It's just there for you, and there's that moment of connection between you and the dog that I've seen it work beautifully with lots of people who are just not coping well with the situation.
I just want to give out can you share the website with folks who are listening if they'd like to visit that and find out more about it?
I'd love to. Thank you. It's www.dogsupernanny.com. HOPE, HOPEAACR.org. So that's HOPEAACR.org.
And there you can find all kinds of information on the HOPE Animal Assisted Crisis Response.
Absolutely.
Janet, I have a question. Do you do any work with people that are in hospitals, or is this strictly targeted towards or serving people who have experienced a disaster?
Well, we recruit people who already do therapy work in their own locations. So we require, one of the things that a dog and handler team have to have before they can apply for HOPE is a year's worth of work at the local level, at least 12 visits in hospitals, nursing homes, reading programs, those kind of things. So the dogs already come to us with experience at that level. And they members have to maintain that just so the dog is regularly out and about and visiting and keeping up their skills that way. But when they come to us, we are looking for dogs and handlers who can handle a more stressful situation.
Sure.
Something that might last longer than the regular hour visits that we do at nursing homes and hospitals. Something that, like the New Jersey call out, where we are in very devastated situations. We have to deal with having only porta potties if we're lucky. We have to deal with walking through streets that look like a war zone. We have to deal with people who are more distraught than you generally see at regular home visits.
Sure.
So we're looking for dogs and handlers that can handle that extra level. We kind of call it, therapy work on steroids, or the PhD of therapy work. So we put people and the dogs through extra screening and interview technique processes so that we know what they're capable of being able to do. And then prior to joining, people must attend and pass a 3-day workshop during which we put everybody through some extra exercises and drills, not just to test them, but actually to give them information and help on desensitizing dogs to certain situations, on the good care that you must take of yourself and your dog after a disaster situation, because we absorb some of that. So we have to be careful that we have downtime and that we rest ourselves and our dogs in between visits and things like that. So it's a real interesting process. I'm very proud of the way that we've put it together to try to give handlers and dogs the experience they need, and then ask them to continually improve their processes and their education so that we can continue to offer the best service we can.
Now, when you say we, I would imagine that you're talking about the entire organization. But if I get you right, if I heard you correctly, say I have a really well-behaved dog, and she's really great with people and strangers and is good in tight spaces and so on and so forth. And I want her, I think that she might be a good candidate to do this type of work. Would the person have to travel to Virginia, or could they be visited by a person from the organization? I mean, how does that actually work? How would a person get in contact with you guys?
Well, of course, you can contact us through the information you'll find on the HOPE AACR website. What we do is our recruitment process includes an open house during which we give lots of information about the process itself, the monetary requirements, because we are an all-volunteer organization, nonprofit, 501c3, and we accept donations if anybody's inclined.
Okay.
Because education is expensive to do this.
Sure.
But basically, we try to offer those open houses in regions where we have interest. And so people can come, hopefully, to an open house that doesn't take them more than an hour or so to drive. The dog doesn't come to the open house, so that one's pretty easy. It's just informational. If they can't reach one of those, we can sometimes do a phone presentation, which helps people to get the information they need. When we offer the screenings, those are usually held in about 3 or 4 places around the region. So we've got a pretty big region. So we'll probably offer one screening in Ohio, one in northern Pennsylvania, maybe one in Virginia, maybe one up in Connecticut, something like that. So people would need to be ready to visit one of those locations to do the screening. The screening takes about 3 hours, and so that one's not as difficult to get to.
Well, what actually takes place during a screening?
The screening involves some basic obedience testing. Just does the dog walk nicely on a leash? Will it respond to cues for sit and down? Just very simple stuff, but we want to see how they do in a new place and with other dogs around them.
Mm-hmm.
It also involves an interview for the person. It involves some greeting other dogs and seeing how that interaction goes. It involves some role-playing, because we want to see if you are asked to visit somebody who is in a very stressed state. Perhaps some of our role players are crying heavily. Some might
For
be...
a second, I thought we just lost you. I hear a loud beeping there. What's going on, Pat?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, I'm hearing some beeping on my end, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So we ask them to interact with people that are exhibiting some stress of different types. Maybe they're too talkative, maybe they're not talkative at all, communicative at all.
Right.
And see how people respond to that. So we're looking for the aptitude of the team at that point. And we just want to know that people understand what they'd be getting into and that they might be able to handle that kind of situation. But we don't expect them to be perfect in a screening, obviously. The training that we offer, the 3-day workshop, gives people the information that they need to polish the skills they bring.
Sure. So it's a screening process to figure out, all right, the dog is really great with kids and is really great meeting all kinds of people and is good with people in uniforms, but it's got some issues with a cat.
Or a loud noise,
Mm-hmm.
or being stuck, maybe just waiting without their person, because we do a little separation test.
Right.
Kind of like some of the things that are involved in a CGC test or the therapy dog tests that they may have already done to register with a national or recognized therapy organization.
So where would that person go once they go through the screening process? And they've gone through that whole process with you guys, and you say they need a little bit more education or a little bit more polishing, as you say, in certain areas. Where do they go to get that information and that training?
Well, the 3-day workshop, we offer one per region per year generally, and it will be held at different locations in the region from year to year in order to try to make it easy for different people in different areas to get to us. And we probably can take up to about 20 people in those workshops, depending on the space we have. And so that is a kind of an intensive 3 days. One has to arrive and be ready to focus on nothing but that for those 3 days.
Okay, and do they bring their pets with them?
Yeah, they have to bring their dog at that point because they're now acting as a team, and we're going to put them through some of the stresses that they would deal with on call-outs. We usually arrange for going through airport screenings or something like that, and we put together different experiences just to see how everybody does. And it's really a matter not only of challenging people to rise to that occasion, but of helping them and giving them the skills they need to help their dog be successful in that situation.
Well, that's terrific. That is really cool stuff.
And then after if they pass the screening, they are invited to become members. And then we keep people's availability at hand. And so when something like a Sandy arises, the regional director interacts with them to see about their ability to respond. And we also ask them to do continuing education so that they continue to be involved in training with their dog or in responding to local events, because not everything, and thank God we don't get a Sandy every year.
Yeah,
so
really.
We also respond to other crises that are smaller, but still very upsetting to whomever is involved. We also responded in Indianapolis to a house explosion you might have heard about.
Yes.
And so
that
some
was
of our teams
devastating.
went there. It was very strange and very upsetting, as you can imagine, to everybody in that community.
Sure.
Even if their house wasn't damaged, just the faith and normalcy was shaken very badly for a lot of people.
It's terrible. So what other kinds of situations do you go into?
Sometimes we do line of duty deaths if we have a firefighter or a policeman that has been killed in action. When they do the memorial service, we'll be available for people that might need a little way to release some of what they're feeling, somebody to talk to that isn't, again, has no agenda and is just there for them. We've dealt with explosions. We've dealt with plane crashes, the folks that are involved, all the way from the officials who are investigating to the families that were affected. Forest fires, we very often go and support the first responders. It's really interesting to see a bunch of big, burly guys who have been fighting fires all day and say, no, I'm fine, there's no problem here, but then they spend 45 minutes petting the dog. So everybody needs an outlet for the kind of stress and difficulty that you experience in those kind of situations.
So the Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response, how long have they been around?
Oh, gosh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask a question I couldn't answer perfectly. But
this is why I don't have a scripted show. I like to surprise my guests.
It's certainly 10 years. I can't remember the exact date, and I should, but it was in the last century, let's put it that way.
So the last decade, you mean?
No, the last century. I think it was started in 1988.
Really?
98. And that's where I'm really embarrassed I can't. But if you go to the website, it will have that information. But we've been doing this for a while. I've been a member for 7 years, almost 8 now. And we do get people that love this work so much they bring a second dog through the training or a third.
Wow.
I'm on my second dog right now. And it's a very satisfying thing to do. There's not much I could do for the people in New Jersey, but Oscar and I sure had a good time being there for them and listening to them and supporting them in whatever way that we could.
That's really great. I want to thank you for visiting my state.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And helping the folks out here who really lost a lot.
I want to say, too, that if there are organizations, anybody listening, who could use our dogs, a visit from our dogs, as a part of a program they're doing, as a part of sheltering or responding to this situation, they are most welcome to call me, and we can discuss whether we can get there for you. But that's basically, we are available at no charge to an organization to try to be of help and relief for people that they're assisting.
Can you want to give out that information again?
The website is hopeaacr.org. And
feel free to give out the phone number if you're comfortable with that.
I am. It's 804-883-1014.
Janet, I want to thank you so much for joining our show today and letting everybody know all about the Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response, and that it is a national organization. And if your community or your lives have been affected by trauma and tragedy, they would love to come visit you with dogs and help you guys out. She had mentioned, Jenna had mentioned about the crisis response people, the first responders. I think this is a really great program. And if you want to learn more about it, feel free to visit www.hopeaacr.org. I want to thank you for joining our show, Janet.
Thank you for the opportunity to share what we do.
Folks, coming up on December 20th, we're going to be speaking with Nanette Morgan, and Nanette is a specialist in separation anxiety, and she owns Positive Pals Dog Training and Behavior Consultant in Morgan Hill, California. On December 27th, we're going to be speaking with a gentleman who has multiple sclerosis, and he is going to be sharing his story of his survival and struggle with this disease and how his pet dog helped him through the whole process. I also want to encourage you to visit thedogsupernanny.com if you have any questions or would you like to learn a little bit more about our service. I'd like for you to give us a call at WNJC anytime on Thursday mornings between 10 and 10:30 a.m. Phone number is 856-227-1360. And I want to wish everybody a happy weekend. Enjoy the weather.